Welcome to ACM's Vault of Cult. My name's Andy. This is the movie podcast where I take a movie from the 80s or 90s that I loved when it came out and I show it to someone who's not seen it before. It's usually a film that either bombed at the box office or got bad reviews or both. In the case of this week, it's both. The 1993, in my opinion, should be classic Coneheads. I'm showing it to my special guest today, Robin Dicker, who's sat right beside me, itching to talk. He'd not seen it before. I rewatched it. I've not seen it for about a decade, maybe longer. And I'm going to see whether I still liked it or if nostalgia clouded my mind and his opinion on it. Robin, welcome to the podcast.
Hello there.
We've been talking about having you on for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we're finally there.
And the podcast.
Hey! Do you just want to tell people a little bit about yourself? But people might know you for your music, your comedy, your writing.
Yeah. I write comedy songs. My name is Robin Dicker, and I write my own funny songs. I'm playing here at the weekend, actually. I'm playing Askenbury on this Saturday.
This will go out in about a month now.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But you played here.
Yeah, I played here. Cheers for coming. Got a book coming out in soon sometime.
That's. Have you got a date for that yet? Or?
I haven't got a date, no. I'm still waiting on the edit to come back, but they assure me that it's going to be sometime soon. But yeah, still waiting on that.
Okay, but if we get you back, which I imagine we will, because you seem quite enthusiastic about this.
Coneheads.
Let's talk about it then.
Yeah.
Right, well, we've plugged you a bit. Are you on the socials? I'll get that out of the way.
I'm just Facebook. Yeah. Robin Dicker on Facebook. No, I'm bloody awful at internet stuff.
Okay, so go see him live is how to do it.
Yeah, well, you'll be able to see what I'm playing if you look on my Facebook group, Robin Dicker, funnily enough.
Excellent. Right, so I'm going to play the trailer just to get us in the mood. And a previous guest who has seen this film, just going to have a little bit of word about it as well. And then we'll be back to discuss the 1993 Dan Aykroyd starring and written by comedy Coneheads.
America has opened her arms to those who dreamed of a better life, in search of opportunity, equality, and freedom. And so it is in this proud tradition that America once again welcomes her newest aliens. Coneheads.
They're from another planet?
That theory has been advanced.
I'm ready to suck back a cold one. Welcome to the United States.
And so the saga begins of a family unlike any you've ever known. This summer,
And open wider.
their name will live in history.
Very sorry, Mr. Conehead.
Conehead. The name is Conehead.
Coneheads.
James Rose with me from other podcasts and King Street Cinema.
Yes, hello.
Are you good?
Yeah.
You've come on this podcast several times and talked about films that you hadn't seen before. We didn't get you on the Coneheads episode because you've seen it.
Yes.
And can I just quickly get your thoughts? 'Cause I think you actually quite liked it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it great? I mean, I don't understand why people wouldn't like this film unless you just don't like comedy, right, which is a possibility.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe fans of Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well,
Dan Aykroyd, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah. Can I get? I'm going to do an average rating for this, like we tried to do. But if I add you into the mix, just in case Robin's giving it a lower score, I don't think he will. But can I get an out of 5 for Coneheads for you?
Yeah, it's 4.
4, yeah. So 4 scores, good score.
Yeah, it's good.
Thank you very much. I don't know what else to say. Do you remember any quotes offhand? I've just caught you on the spot.
No, I can't. Our hand. I do remember them saying we will enjoy them a lot in it, which is always nice.
Memories will
enjoy them. There you go. There you go. That's all the lovely stuff. It's a lovely film. It's very funny. If you like I say, if you just like comedy, you should like it. But obviously, if you like SNL, Saturday Night Live, then you should have fond memories of these characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Okay, as you can tell from that, James really liked it. So you've not seen it before. Is there a reason you hadn't seen it? Had you heard of it before?
I had heard of it before. I think probably the reason why I never watched it before is because I found the front cover incredibly annoying looking.
Okay,
and
that's with the three faces.
Yeah, I just found the whole aesthetic very annoying looking. But being forced to watch it, I thought it was an absolute sensation.
Excellent. So we'll go into more details. Were you aware of the sketches from Saturday Night Live?
I wasn't, no.
No, because it was released in 1993. The sketches were mid to late 70s.
I pretty much only watched the old Mike Myers Saturday Night Lives. That's my introduction.
Okay, yeah.
That and more cowbell, of course.
Oh yeah, everyone's seen that. It was made off the back of the success of Wayne's World. They wanted to turn more sketches into movies. They'd done it with a few, but Wayne's World was only really the first hit.
Blues Brothers, that come out?
That was in 1980, but that wasn't really a sketch. They were made up as musical guests.
Yeah.
And actually, think about it, Blues Brothers wasn't a massive hit when it came out.
Yeah.
It was later on, wasn't it? Yeah. So the two big ones, of course, are Wayne's World and Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
But I never really counted that as a. Do you know what I mean? The characters were there.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure on Saturday Night Live they just come on and sung. I don't think there was any plot. But the reviews were dreadful when it came out.
Yeah.
It cost $30 million. And do you want to have a guess how much it made worldwide?
$5.
Close.
Yeah, tenner?
No.
No.
Have a guess in millions between 1 million
4 million.
21 million.
Yeah.
So that's what you meant to say.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So to really make money, you need to double your budget. And didn't come close. And it was because of how unsuccessful it was in America back when. They used to come out in America first, and then stop me if I'm patronising you if you know this.
I don't. No. I'm very familiar with the movie now. I didn't look up anything.
It was pulled from UK cinema. There was posters up and stuff, but it was never released in cinema over here. But done pretty well on video once it did come out.
Yeah.
Review-wise, Letterboxd 2.6 out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
IMDb 5.4 out of 10.
Yeah.
And on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't like because many reviewers, Sodom, 35%.
Yeah.
I think after rewatching that, I think this film deserves a lot more than that. Written by Dan Aykroyd, Tom Davis. They're both from Saturday Night Live. And Bonnie and Terry Turner. Have you heard of these two writers?
I haven't, no.
Okay, cool. Well, they wrote Wayne's World with Mike Myers.
Oh, right, yeah.
And after this movie, done more TV. They did do the Brady Bunch movie. Have you ever seen that?
No.
Which is pretty cool. It's like a spoof of the old series.
Yeah.
But they curated Third Rock from the Sun, which I love. And then they've done that 70s show, that 80s show, and that's 90s show, which I'm not such a big fan on.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen their work. I mean, it's directed by Steve Barron, who came from music videos. Probably most well known, he done the first Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which I think is another one it did make money, but the reviews weren't that good. I could do it on the show, because I think it's kind of forgotten. I really like that movie. Yeah. Did you watch that one when you was younger?
I think I might have done when I was a kid, yeah, because I did love the Ninja Turtles. Yeah. I think I probably did.
Cool. Let's get on to Coneheads, shall we?
Yeah.
Because I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We'll start with just the basic plot.
Yeah.
Because the plot is pretty much simple. They crash on Earth, they have to stay on Earth, they go back to their own planet.
Yeah.
And there's not much of a plot.
Well, a lot of it is a dissection of family life, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is quite oddly something which I don't usually massively cotton onto, especially when it's something where it's just a direct parallel to family dynamics. But I found something really quite heartwarming about the family dynamics. Genuinely, the alien thing and the crashing to Earth also is as much a framing device for the family dynamics of a really red-blooded classic American stereotypical thing with the dad looking after his daughter and sort of Chris Farley. Oh my God. Chris Farley in that, everything with him. But carry on. I'll take it over.
That's right. We'll go back to we'll go back to the actors and stuff in a bit. But it's basically the family surviving, isn't it?
Yeah.
And once they've landed,
they become very normal very fast.
Yeah, and they love it. That's the only fault I thought of this movie, and I didn't think of this when I first saw it. They crash land, and it appears to be modern day, or then modern day, the 90s. and then it shows a montage I love with the growing up, with the baby growing up.
Yeah.
And then it's still the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you pick up on that?
I didn't, but you might be right there.
Because I think if it was made now, when they crash landed, it would be really 70s.
So they have the devices, because when they're in the caravan, they have multiple devices. He does the thing where he smokes a whole fist of cigarettes. Were there too many... Because I got sort of like 50s vibes to it. You know, the type of cars they were driving.
In the montage was like a 50s vibe.
Yeah,
because
the fashion was all over the place.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I think they sort of thought, well, we'll just do it. We'll make it. People won't really think about it.
I think it was kind of generic, somewhere between the 90s and the 50s. Sort of never talked about.
Very Wonder Years, the montage. If you remember that.
No, I don't.
That's sort of set in 60s, a family thing.
Petrol lawnmowers.
Yeah,
he fixes the petrol lawnmower with the spark plug in it. So so that's quite old. Yeah,
so it might just be that it wasn't rammed in your face.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are subtler jokes which, while reading up on it, I didn't pick up on. Because one of the jokes is, if anyone queries it, they just say they're from France.
Yeah.
But in their house, there was a lot of French things about. I didn't pick up on that. I just read that. Did you notice that?
I didn't. No,
I didn't.
I just picked up on the bit where they're pretending to be French when they come to their door.
Yeah. But the humour of it, I absolutely love. A friend of mine, when I mentioned this film online the other day, he is American, and he said he'd never watched it because it just looked too dumb. But I like how dumb it is. But like you say, it's actually quite a heartwarming film.
Yeah,
it's a PG, which is really rare.
Yeah,
I remember seeing it. I had it on video as a kid, but I did remember catching it on TV, and little bits of it were cut. He thinks he's got bubble gum, but it's a condom.
Yeah,
sort of running gag in it. Yeah. That was always cut out on TV.
Yeah,
but other than that, there's not much else. It's very family friendly. There's not much swearing in it.
Well, the sex scene, except it's the stupid Conehead sex, isn't it?
Well, they put a ring on it.
That's my favourite bit. That's my favourite bit, where they walked in and Chris Farley's face when he's caught mid cone shag.
Yeah, and that's because to kids, they'd just see that as like kissing and hugging, I suppose.
Yeah.
So you could show that.
Yeah.
Chris Farley plays, is it Ronnie?
I think so, yeah.
He's...
or Donnie?
I've got it written down somewhere. It doesn't matter, it's Ronnie or Donnie or something like that. Who is a mechanic, who becomes the boyfriend to the daughter. He's very young in this role, and I always see it as he's probably just a year older, he's finished school, I sort of discussed this with James earlier because of the age difference. Yeah. I think he's only a year or so older. Yeah. He is still...
he looks so adult, though, because it's Chris Farley.
It's Chris Farley. But if you look at him, compared it was only... When did he die? 97, 98? He seemed to age a lot in those last few years. And in this film, because it's him, I think it's so likeable. It's probably his most less obnoxious, less out there character, more chilled. He displays a nervous... a
nervous young man, a high school lover, nervous of his lover's dad.
And there's a scene in it where he comes onto her in the car, which in other hands could come across as really, really horrible.
Yeah.
And I think he does that quite well. And
they actually snog, don't they?
They snog, and then he wants to go further.
Yeah.
And this is not spoiler free. This podcast online. And Dan Aykroyd's character, the dad, gets angry, rips the top off the car. Mm-hmm. But he learns from that, and he does generally like her, and it's not just he basically tries to redeem himself because he likes her. He doesn't just want sex.
Yeah.
But another bit I found hilarious is when he does see. He's a caddy as well. He's been a mechanic and probably going to school. He's a caddy.
Yeah.
And while Dan Aykroyd's playing golf, he just shouts, "I hope you didn't cut your fingers while ripping the roof off my car."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nah," which another funny role. But I actually remembered him being more in this movie than he was. He's not a cameo with Chris Farley, but he comes into it quite late, and then he's just got a few really good scenes, I feel.
The acting is incredible. It's just like because he's so funny, and he's almost physically ill-fitting in the situation. But his acting is so on point, and there isn't a single break in it where you don't actually really feel for him.
Yeah.
And I actually thought he looked older. It's just because it's Chris Farley, but he's so funny in the situation. But the best bit, and one of my favourite bits of facial acting that I think I will ever see, is, like I said, the bit where Dan Aykroyd, the dad, walks in on Chris Farley and his daughter having Conehead sex.
Yeah.
They put the ring onto the cone, don't they? There's a special sex ring that they put onto the cone.
Yeah.
But his flustered face when they walk in with the sweat all over him.
Yeah.
There's something between clowning. Something between his act is clowning, because it's so physically pronounced, his facial expressions and everything, and he was a really talented clown. But something between that and genuinely heartwarming story, and even though it's to the daughter as well, even though she's a beautiful actress and stuff, she's completely coned up. You know, they're real like prosthetics and stuff. There's something really really cute about their story there.
Yeah.
And you're really pulling for them.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's not this totally stupid. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous.
It also is a completely stupid comedy as well.
But it has that, you do feel for them. You really warm to the characters, and that little jokes just make me crack up when it's like he comes home from work and he's like, "Hello, Earth Woman," and things like that, and they sort of as they say it, which is not. They're not mocking. Their characters aren't mocking our culture, so they warm to it.
Yeah,
they pretend to. And as the story unfolds, and they're waiting to be picked up. Rescued, because they were actually sent to the planet to take over, and they crash, and then they end up having to stay pretending to be humans, which is why I think one of the things he got criticised for has been a one joke film of them pretending to be human, but it's so much more than that. And they end up just adapting to the culture and really liking it. And
they end up making loads of friends, don't they? And being really useful for the other humans, and then halfway through the movie nobody's even questioning that they're aliens and stuff, and they've just fitted in.
There's one person, it's a cameo, and I'm going to speak about the cameos in a bit, who does mention it. Through the whole film, one person points out. Yeah. And the fact they even, their surname is Conehead, which is just stupid. But so they warm to the culture. Things like Dan Aykroyd really loves golf and he really wants to win this championship, or Player of the Year, isn't it? And then they do get taken back to their own planet. Remulac, yes. They're basically going to be sent back to. They know that they want to take over Earth. Yeah. So they basically trick them and end up ditching their own planet and staying on Earth. Yeah. Which is really nice. The
enemies are their home aliens from Remulac in the end, aren't they? Yeah. The real antagonists in this story are actually their own home aliens from Remulac.
Yeah, so it's almost like they're learning from humanity to be nicer people. Yeah, which is actually a rarity in comedies and sci-fi, especially nowadays. Is usually that we're the nasty people. Which you can see, but there's good and bad, and that's when this is just a nice. It's not pushing any political agenda either. It's just a nice film. Yeah, and just a which when you think about Aykroyd's work as well, the stuff he's written, Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters, what he's most well known for. There's never any sort of nastiness in there. Yeah, it's just I think he's. Just loves comedy, and this is fish out of water. The humour you'd call this, and I can't think of it ever done better. And also because of that, because they're aliens, it doesn't date as much because something like
it's almost Dances with Wolves for aliens, sort of.
No, that's Avatar. But like something like the only example I can think of would be to say Crocodile Dundee, and now it's like, well, is that just making fun of Australian culture? That's probably a bad example. But there's a joke in this that I was a bit like, would it be done? I don't think they dare to do it now. Where at the beginning he poses as a taxi driver, and he wears a turban.
Oh yeah.
But the joke there is, it's clearly to hide his head, but his head's so big it still pokes out the top. So you can still see it. So I don't think that's a race thing. That's just a prop joke.
Well, it is because he's a taxi driver, though, as well, isn't it? So, a little bit there.
But he works for. I don't know. But
slight cultural appropriation, maybe.
Possibly, but
although he is an alien, but then he was also a white guy playing an alien, isn't he?
But there is the joke as well where he confesses to his first boss that he's an illegal alien, and he just thinks he means. And that's a really nice thing. You just see him look really upset, like, yes, I am an alien. So I don't know. I think I don't think you would do that joke now, but I think you should be able to.
Yeah.
Because there's no malice there. There's nothing.
Well, it's a garment, isn't it? And
Yeah.
also, the turban is a garment where the cone can stick out at the top of it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do that joke with another garment.
Yeah.
Because it's a wrap around your head.
Exactly. Yeah. And
Also, his boss isn't a Sikh either. His boss isn't a Sikh. He's the only one wearing a turban.
I think his boss does.
He doesn't wear a turban.
Does he not?
No,
I
no.
thought when you first saw him, he was wearing one.
He's Asian in
Okay.
ethnicity, but he doesn't have a turban on.
Okay, I'll have to check that because I'm sure the first time you see him, he does.
I'm picturing him just with black hair.
Because I think it was literally my why I noticed that it was sticking out the top was because I saw someone else or another character wearing one.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. We'll check it. You can check it. Email us. Let us know.
Yeah.
But other than that, which was I don't think meant as a racist joke, even though it might slightly be now. Do you know what I mean? That wouldn't be edited out of TV. Or
It was a conehead joke. It's
it's
about the fact that he's got a cone for a head.
Whereas the
Put a turban on a cone guy.
the Chevy Chase comedy Memoirs of an Invisible Man, where he dresses up as a lot of people in that. And the very last scene of the film, and it's gone up to 12 now because of it, is he kind of does the same thing, but he hasn't got a cone head as a taxi driver, and you're like, you don't do that, do you? So yeah, but you know, Chevy Chase don't care. He's got loads of money.
Yeah. He's not that good a guy himself, is he? By all accounts, hasn't he got something going on there?
There was there's been people saying that he was quite hard to work with and suffering on the community, but there's lots of stories pro and con him.
Yeah.
My personal opinion with Chevy Chase, and I don't know him, I never met him, but I've listened to a lot of interviews and stuff, is I think he got big headed, he got quite up himself, so to speak, but I think he feels bad about it. And tries to redeem himself, and he's worked with Dan Aykroyd a few times, and several people he's gone back and worked with, and I can't imagine someone like Dan Aykroyd would want to work with someone who's that obnoxious. They've actually got a film, it's a kids film, like a Halloween kids film coming out this year, the two of them back together.
Oh, brilliant.
Which should be interesting. I don't know if it's just a cameo, but they're in it together.
Yeah.
I think they're top billing, so that should be interesting.
Well, Chevy Chase is hilarious. I mean,
but and I think it's like with the whole Bill Murray thing, it's like, are their jokes just that, they're 70-year-old men now, Chevy Chase is 80, is their humour just a bit dated and they don't realise it? So it is difficult. I was just going to go quickly back to some more of the sort of favourite bits of the film, because there's so many for me. I love the fact they call humans blunt skulls. That's just great. We mentioned the montage. I don't know, I'm going to talk to you in a minute about some of the cameos. But what did you think because it's a sci-fi film as well as a comedy. What did you think of the special effects?
Special effects wise, my biggest one for me is the monster at the end. Good stop motion in the shots that it was going on, but very separate. Like the fight from it was very separate. I thought rubbish, to be honest. The biggest one that stuck in my brain was the monster right at the end, but there wasn't enough of a fight there. It was more like flailing limbs in a shot, and then a shot of the actor separate from the monster and stuff.
Well, that was he does end up beating it by using golf, so I think that was deliberate. So I thought the monster looked good, but you get very good point. You don't see it with
the monster itself looked good, but the
you don't
interaction.
Yes. I mean, so I think they'd spent the money on the monster. And I think it looked good, but it's very noticeable that it doesn't go into contact with any of the Coneheads. That stands out. But I think they probably spent most of the money on the monster. And that reminded me of and the set of it. A
lot of prosthetics as well, because they had to have so many people from Remulac with Coneheads.
And they all look good. It wasn't if you've seen the later Planet of the Apes movies where there's a crowd scene, it's just people with like cardboard ape masks on. They all look good, and that the prosthetics took 2 hours to put on. And it lasted for 8 hours, I think it said. I thought that the monster really reminded me of the beginning of Return of the Jedi. You got that monster scene with Luke. The same sort of
Sarlacc. The Rancor.
I have no idea what it is.
In the pit.
The
Rancor. The Sarlacc is the one in the sand pit with Jabba the Hutt. The Rancor.
It reminded me of that, the way it moved, and and I'd say the special effects on par with that, as in but it was made 10 years after that. I thought the spaceships looked cool. But certain bits like basically the CGI wasn't there yet. because there's a bit where Connie eats like a sandwich in one, and that looks so bad, and that stood out as being bad.
Oh, I thought that was brilliant. Actually, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it looks like a little cartoon. The joke was good. The joke worked. Especially when she's got a bigger hot dog and you see Chris Farley's reaction to it.
Yeah.
And the dentist bit, where his mouth gets huge, it looks good, but when it's actually getting bigger, it's just CGI.
Yeah.
But
I thought that was great.
The mouth open, he's got 3 sets of teeth.
Yeah.
And that's another thing of like the dentist. Well, I will say you probably picked up on that cameo, did you? Who the dentist was?
Let me go to my notes. The voice of Artie Ziff from The Simpsons. I know the actor.
John Lovitz.
John Lovitz, right? Yeah. Because I wasn't going to Google anything because I said just your reaction from what you're watching. I've got some brackets.
Okay. Well, should we do that? What I was going to do is this film has got so many comedian cameos that you being a fan of comedy, see how many you picked up.
Yeah.
I haven't researched it, but what I'm going to do is if you go through them, I'll think of any that were in it that you didn't.
Yeah.
We've done John Lovitz, which you got. I'll count that. If you know they played a character, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's fair dues. So let's go.
Biggest one I'm missing is let's start from the beginning anyway. But I mean, the biggest one I'm missing is whoever Chris Farley was caddying for on the one who was shouting at.
Okay, yeah,
that's one I'm missing.
That is a comedian that Chris Farley used to take the mick out of on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I recognise his face.
Tom Arnold.
Yeah.
That was.
Yes, yeah. Yes, of course, yeah. No, I know him. That is who I thought it was, yeah. Right, so first of all, Phil Hartman.
Yeah.
Going for Phil Hartman, but must have been David Spade.
Yeah, that's more of a extended cameo.
Yeah. I'm just talking people that I'm noticing that aren't the main characters.
Okay, cool.
Was Priscilla Presley snogging somebody on a bench? Was that Priscilla Presley?
I don't think
Surely
so.
They wouldn't have used her. They just look like the people when they crash land. There's a couple snogging on a bench, and they look like Priscilla Presley.
I've not seen her name come up.
Yeah.
So I don't think so.
So then Kramer from Seinfeld, another one that I don't know.
Michael Richards. Yeah. First one you see, first game.
Yeah. Adam Sandler.
Yeah. Richard Gold.
Yeah.
One of his first films, not his first film. His first film was Going Overboard, which is terrible.
Yeah.
And he was still on Saturday Night Live when he done this.
Well, all of his career isn't great, is it? I mean,
you've
got to give him props for having written it all, though. So I mean,
Gilmore's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, he's got some good ones, and also, to be fair to him, it was all of his own brainchild. So they were good things. And if he was just the rubbish actor in a lot of quite good and almost good things, then props to him for having been the one who wrote it. You know.
Yeah.
But so next up, he's not a cameo. He's the detective, but dude from Spinal Tap.
Yeah, Michael McKean.
Yeah. So we've got voice of Artie Ziff, the guy you said a second ago, the guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, Drew Carey.
Yeah, the main the guy who that gives them the prompts.
He's in the taxi.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The guy who gives people prompts in Whose Line It Is Anyway. Then Chris Farley. Oh, that's not a cameo, is it? O.J. Simpson?
No.
Was that O.J. Simpson? Oh, okay. Right, so then
who did you think he was?
One of the policemen right at the end. No, near the end, just before they go back to Remulac. I thought he was one of the... I even rewound it to look at his face and make sure, and I wasn't quite sure.
I'm sure I'd have seen his name. All these we can check after.
Oh, he was proper famous back then. He wouldn't have been a cameo at that point, would he?
Well, I don't know. It might be like sometimes you get a big... But I don't know. No, I don't think... you definitely know if he was in it. It'd be one of the things that people mention.
Yeah. That's it for cameos.
Okay.
So, did you want to do your list? Or
the ones I can think of that you've missed... mainly Saturday Night Live actors. Jan Hooks, who was in Third Rock from the Sun as well, was the woman who fancied Dan Aykroyd's character. Jason Alexander from Seinfeld was the neighbour with the wig.
Yeah.
Lorraine Newman from SNL, who was the original daughter, was Phil Hartman's character's wife.
Yeah.
Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live was the first black conehead you see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else now. I've gone a bit. Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh, really?
Was very quickly. She's the diving when she's doing the diving scene. The daughter's doing a diving scene. She's the coach.
Oh yeah. But she just goes bloop into the water. There's no splash.
A bit I really like. Connie's two friends. One's Parker Posey, who went on to be pretty big. She's in like Scream and stuff like that. And the other is Josie Lauren Adams, who was in Chasing Amy and
No idea.
Big Daddy. She's one of the main women in that. And the three girls were all in Dazed and Confused the same year.
Yeah.
There are more cameos. Sinbad
Yeah.
was his original. The stand-up comedian was his original boss. He talks to, I believe, Eddie Griffin at one point, who's another comedian. You said Phil Hartman. That's a quite hard one to spot, but it's his voice, isn't it? It gives it away. They're the main ones I can think of. But there's other SNL people whose names escapes me, like the high school principal is the actress who played Pat in It's Pat, which is one I haven't seen, based on a sketch in the 90s that is meant to be one of the worst films ever made. I really need to see this. But I don't know anybody who likes it. I'm like, I feel a bit sorry for that film, but it might actually be that bad. Yeah. And I think that's all the ones I can think of offhand, but I'll probably be shouting names as we... Kevin Nealon from SNL was in it as well, and I think Tim Meadows. There we go. It's basically SNL people. Yeah, there's a lot in there. It's a drinking game I want to do. A shot every time there's a cameo. But it is difficult, especially when they've all got the prosthetics on. Dave Thomas was the... have you heard of Dave Thomas? No. He was the leader of the Coneheads. He was on SCTV, the Canadian equivalent of SNL, kind of what John Candy started on, and Rick Moranis, and he was in the film Strange Brew with Rick Moranis. He was his brother in that. And that's one I can think of. Right, we're boring people, or I am. But you've done well though. There's a lot there. You picked up on some of the ones that I don't think some people would. Drew Carey was one that. Who's on Anyway guy. I didn't notice that until probably time before last I saw this. Just trying to think of the soundtrack as well.
That's my next. It sounded very what's his name? It sounded very Danny Elfman.
Oh, I don't know who done the actual score. It sounded like that. It sounded
so similar to Beetlejuice. The music really...
did.
One of the Remulac themes sounded so similar to the Beetlejuice music.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, the choice of songs in it as well, I really like. 'Cause there's a big mix. And it doesn't sound overly that 90s, even though there was like Chili Peppers and stuff on there. But then at the end there's... Can't Take My Eyes Off You, and there's a Paul Simon song in there. It's very sort of back in those days they used to sort of have the soundtracks for singles, weren't they, as in old songs, whereas now it costs so much money to get a song, the rights to the songs, that that's something I really noticed in 90s films. The music was David Newman, who I have not heard of. But he also done Anastasia, and lots of Cat in the Hat, and basically loads of kids' films by the looks of it, and Critters in 1986. So that's he probably did aim for the Danny Elfman style. Rip-off, so to speak.
Well, it came out before Beetlejuice, didn't it? Beetlejuice is 92, 93?
Nah, Beetlejuice is 88.
Is it? Oh,
yeah, because that was before... Oh, it might have been before 88, because it was before he done Batman, Michael Keaton, wasn't it? So I reckon it was 86.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, so...
so it was a rip-off then?
Yeah.
That was so Beetlejuicy.
Yeah. Yeah, true, but, you know, that's allowed, isn't it?
Yeah. With such a fantastic film, it is allowed.
Yeah. So Beetlejuice 2 is apparently actually on the way.
Yeah. Don't know what I feel about that.
Yeah, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
I'll definitely give it a go. Another interesting thing that I don't know if you picked up on, David Spade and Chris Farley were a well-known double act, but they're not even together once in the film, which I think works for it, because their next film, Tommy Boy Together, which Dan Aykroyd was in as well, was their vehicle, and it might have taken it away if they were in it too much together. It might have been seen as their film. And I kind of like that, but it's not just a Dan Aykroyd show, is it? You know,
no,
it's like Jane Curtin as well. Do you know the wife in it? I forget the name. I should know. Primat, isn't it?
I can't remember.
Have you seen her in anything else? You know,
I wouldn't know because she was so prosthetic, so I didn't recognise her.
I know her from. She was the original cast member in SNL.
Yeah.
That's before I was born. She was in an 80s sitcom called Kate and Ally, which isn't very well remembered, especially in this country. But that was shown on Channel 4 a lot in the 80s. Did you watch Third Rock from the Sun?
No.
Because she was in that.
Yeah.
As John Lithgow's.
Yeah, John Lithgow. Yeah, I've seen like an episode or two.
Yeah, she was the sort of off-on girlfriend with John Lithgow. And I can't think of any other or starring role movie she's in.
Mm-hmm.
She pops up cameos every now and then. So I think something I want to talk about is reasons this film didn't do well. I'll throw them at you first, and if you can add. I think you said you didn't like the cover of it.
Yeah.
To me, because knowing it was SNL, I think the poster, it was trying to get the Wayne's World market, and it looks like with the sky background and then just them.
Yeah.
It looks like they've just not thought about it and just tried to do a Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Dan Aykroyd, even though very talented man, lots of hit films, was on a bit of a downer. Time this come out, he just not long written and directed his first film, Nothing But Trouble, which really bombed, and he hasn't directed since. I think he'd sort of fallen out of favour with Americans. It was the second sort of big era of SNL. We had all David Spade, Chris Farley, blah, blah, everyone like that, Adam Sandler. But yet they were trying to sell characters from the 70s.
Yeah.
I think older people thought, well, you know, why didn't they make that 20 years ago?
Yeah.
And younger people didn't care because they wanted the new stuff. And too silly for some people.
Yeah.
But after you not knowing the background and now watching it, can you think of any reasons why it wasn't a hit?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, for me, it is. You've gotten on to exactly what I said earlier. That immediately for me, the aesthetic looked really quite annoying. And God's honest truth, from start to finish, the aesthetic was something that I found annoying. But I learned to love it as I went on with it. And there was so much funniness in it. And actually, I find the Coneheads' characters really funny.
Yeah.
But it just sort of, as soon as I saw it, there was just something which didn't hit the mark. It's called Coneheads. You've got a picture of some people with cones for heads. Don't know if I'll be able to dissect it too much, but I mean, it could just be as simple as I find the characters look annoying.
Yeah.
Watching the movie, I didn't find that as I went on, but just as I read a book by its cover, it was a bad cover.
Yeah. So yeah, it's you got to be. You mean you wouldn't go out of your way to see it?
Yeah, the picture was annoying, and the title said all I needed to know, because it was like, well, yeah, it's those guys, isn't it? Those guys that have got cones for heads in front of me.
Yeah.
Told me all I need to know. Spoilers, if anything, spoilers. They got cones for heads. Oh, brilliant! Yeah.
And if you'd have seen the trailer and it's just their voices of you might have just thought it was just morons going around making noises.
Would put me off more. To be fair,
yeah. If you'd have
it took me about half an hour to not be annoyed by it.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So I bought it as soon as it came out on video, but I'd seen the sketches or some of the sketches and was so into SNL at the time that I was just like, I'd already got past that, I think.
Yeah.
And also, when I saw it, I was really young. I'd have been, the year it came out on video, so I'd have been like 12, maybe 11. And that, looking at that, might have appealed to an 11-year-old a lot more than it would have done someone in the 20s.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, I saw it when I was a kid. I remember seeing it on the shelf in Blockbuster.
And being annoyed.
Yeah, around about that age.
Okay.
I would have been looking for VHSs in Blockbuster by, I think that's probably the first time I saw it, and now I can't be asked with the Conehead thing.
Yeah, that's what, for me, I was like, it looks cool. But then, it's him from Ghostbusters, it's him from...
I might have been tempted as a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I might have been tempted as a kid, because it stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
But I think I remember the first time seeing that cover on a VHS in Blockbuster.
Yeah, that'd been... But you didn't feel the need to rent it?
No.
No, so... but are you glad you watched it?
Yeah,
that's the
100%.
Also, the fact it did do so badly, we've covered that. In retrospect, I'm quite pleased, because I really like this film. And another thing James pointed out is that it kind of ends nicely and perfectly. And if it had been a big hit, we might have got sequels which wouldn't have been very good.
Yeah.
A spin-off TV show and loads of... And I think the fact it's just one thing, and it is the fish out of water.
Yeah.
I mean, what else could they do? There's not really, they couldn't really get up to any adventures.
But they're in water by the end, aren't they? It's really nice how well they get on with the humans and how at home they feel.
Yeah.
It's a really nice happy ending, and it's not a cheap one. They managed to rip off their own aliens by managing to crash land themselves on Earth and convincing the aliens that their ship exploded. But I feel that they're going to have a lovely life on Earth, and they've made a lot of friends. And it's why I said that I felt like one of my favourite bits, genuinely, is that it was quite a heartwarming family experience, which is something I don't usually enjoy in movies. But there was something about those aliens and how well they took to being humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sort of wraps up perfectly. It's only about 85 minutes, which I think is all you need. One of my main problems with a lot of modern movies, even modern comedies that are 2 hours long, they're comedies, you're supposed to get the laughs.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to pack a lot of laughs into you. You'll know from doing stand-up, which is very difficult because you're there to constantly make people laugh. And I think this movie, the amount of times I laugh, chuckle, even smiling in that 83 minutes is a lot more than in the average 2 hour comedy.
Yeah. There's a lot of proper laugh moments in it.
Yeah, and it's as well as the visual side of it, there's some really good lines, and it's their facial reactions as well as slapstick type visuals.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. Like the little lines like the neighbour, Jason Alexander, who's clearly wearing a wig, tries to talk Dan Aykroyd into wearing a wig. And he's like, well, you can't tell I wear one. He's like, not from high altitudes. It's like just little things like that. And not to sound of a Naked Gun type film where you're every time you see it you pick up something new, but there's enough that you do miss some of the jokes and you do miss some of the. Like I say, I hadn't picked up on the French stuff in the house still, and I watched this a lot as a kid. And it's been over a decade.
I was going to say the French bit is one of my favourites as well. It's them pretending to be French.
Yeah.
They accidentally sort of get it right. They sort of.
Well, they've learnt the language. But they just.
But then they're like dressed as Napoleon and whoever. Like every time they're expected to be something, they're the most over the top French thing possible.
Yeah. Just a. I
Just
really.
Napoleon. No, that's not worth it.
And mentioned Jane Kerr, and I think the daughter Michelle Burke was really good. Obviously, the daughter who played it originally couldn't do it because by this point she'd have been well in her 40s probably, whereas they could still play parents. But she has got a cameo. Her career didn't go really anywhere after this. She was in this and Dazed and Confused, both films that didn't do that well, but Dazed and Confused is remembered really fondly. Still does a bit of TV and stuff. Maybe in America she does the Comic-Cons and stuff for this sort of thing. But that's the three main ones carry the film really well, I think. It doesn't outstay its welcome, but I am glad it's that length.
I think it finds its welcome. Actually, I hadn't found my feet with it till about half an hour through.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't overstay its welcome, and you've had a brilliant time by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
But I felt like it found its feet in the first half an hour. It didn't immediately pique my interest.
Yeah.
Largely maybe because of the annoying aesthetic, but then you've fallen in love with it as it goes on. And
yeah.
And
it's straight to it as well. It's like I like that it starts with the crash landing. There's not much. It's like that they're by Earth and then crash.
Yeah.
Whereas it could have been 10 minutes of that show the planet to start with. That's seeing them leaving. That's showing that they're going to attack Earth.
Yeah.
Which you don't need.
Remulak isn't interesting enough.
No. The joke there, which you only need to see once, is that everything's cone shaped.
Yeah.
And that's reminiscent for me of in Howard the Duck when you see his planet and everything's a duck. Like Indiana. There's a spoof poster of like Indiana Jones as a duck and that sort of thing, and that's there for a minute. You've got that joke out of the way, then it's all on Earth.
Yeah.
When for both movies, a lot of that is budget because it's easier to set things on Earth. But I think it could have been drawn out with 10 minutes before. I mean, how many comedies do you know where there's opening 10 minutes where there's no actual jokes? They're just trying to establish everything. Whereas this, it's pretty much jokes the second you go. And that's one of the many reasons I love this film.
Yeah.
Firstly, before I'm going to get your rating out of 5 for it. But anything else you want to add about Coneheads?
No, although who is the umpire in the is it a baseball game at the end? Is that another cameo? The old geezer. Just about recognised him.
I'm not sure if it is. It's one I've not picked up on.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll have to have a look. I think the main ones we've got, but it could be. This is throwing me. But as I keep saying, any listeners who know, because I don't really can't bother to Google it, do contact us on. You can message Spotify now, and you can do that, or on the ACM's Vault of Cult on Facebook or Instagram. There's a Twitter. Don't use it. I've logged out. Can't get back in. But do that, and your opinions on this movie. I'm going to do an average rating, because at the beginning of the show, which I don't think you've listened to yet, because you couldn't have done because it's not out there. I'm talking to Robin, not the audience.
Yeah.
We add James's to the thing, and then an average score.
Yeah.
And then I think I'm going to do at the end of each season the most popular movie.
Yeah.
The first episode of this season was Addicted to Love. A fortnight ago that came out. No, it wasn't. It was a few weeks ago, and the average score, I can't remember. Hudson Hawk, the last episode, the average score, I can't remember. So I'll put it on the socials. I've just built this up too much. No one cares. What's your opinion out of 5?
I'm gonna give it a 4.2.
4.2 out of 5. I've got to do maths now. It's at 0.2. James gave it a 4, and I'm giving it a 5. Which gives it an average score.
Oh, you have to divide it.
Yeah, so you've done points, didn't you? That's the problem. I'm holding a microphone, but I've got a calculator. So it's over 4. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, so you can't do it, can you? You can't. It's going to be something like 4.
Well, it's the 3 reviews that mess it up. So you've got
plus 5. Anyway, this is what editing should be a thing,
3,
isn't it? But editing is for losers. It gives an average of 4.4 out of 5.
Yeah,
which is pretty high.
Yeah.
So with the others, I just got a score and I worked out in my head and was going to do it. But there's going to be a little pie chart and that stuff. I reckon. Hopefully. Who knows? Who knows what the future brings? Yeah. But one thing I do know of the future, it won't bring a sequel to Coneheads. Which is a shame.
Not so sure about that.
Yeah.
Don't think it'd survive a sequel.
No. As I say, I'm glad it didn't. But if you want more Coneheads, YouTube will have some of the original sketches. There's a music video that I've never heard of. If you carry on watching the credits, there's a song with Jane Kerr and Dan Aykroyd in character, kind of a 90s rap, called Conehead Love, that I discovered on YouTube. There is a music video they made for it to promote the film. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Spoofing music videos.
Is it a video about their sex that they have with their cones?
Kind of.
It is.
Well, the song's about that, not the video. I don't think this was intended to be a PG. It was probably cut down to be a PG. And there was an animated pilot episode. A friend of mine used to have this on VHS. It got released in this country. Just called the Coneheads. Yeah. That's worth tracking down. It's rubbish, but if you like the other stuff, it's worth watching. Okay, thanks a lot for listening. Check out Robin on social media. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, no worries. I've had loads of fun. If you want to check out my book, it should be out sometime in the next year. It's called The Battle of Patrick's Lunch. It's a very violent story about 2 homeless guys who decide to break into a museum for somewhere to live. And it's very mad. And it should be out in Waterstones in the next few months.
And other bookshops, I'm guessing.
Yeah, and other bookshops as well. I mean, I'm excited to see my name on the shelf in Waterstones. Also gives me a lifetime 50% discount.
Does it really?
Yeah.
I want to get me a book written.
Yeah.
I've got this idea about this big dog. It's red, called Clifton.
No way. I want to break this to you. I think there's this other film called Lassie.
Okay.
There's this other dog movie that somebody's made. I don't know about the big red thing.
Called the Pointy Heads.
Yeah.
I could do that. Anyway, thank you very much. We're going to wind it up. We'll hopefully get you back soon. Maybe later on in the series or next season.
If you want to come to my gig, I'll be playing a month ago.
Yeah. Yes. I'm thinking Dragnet, though. You've seen Dragnet with Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening. There'll be another episode fairly soon.